All right, so we'll get going. So again, I'm Alex Winokur. I am the Director of Enrollment Operations here at Fountain Valley School. Thanks so much for attending. We have a really good panel today that is going to talk about all things Fountain Valley, be able to answer questions, and we have faculty, we have staff, some also double as parents of kids at Fountain Valley School. So it's a really good group to be able to learn from. In a little bit, I'll have them introduce themselves. And just a couple logistics. This is my contact information, so that's good to see. And if you need anything, you can reach out to me at any time. But also there's a Q&A feature here in our meeting. So if you have questions that come up while we're talking, please put it in the Q&A and we will get to it either at the end or if it's relevant to one of the questions, we might get to it during the whole time. So just a couple things. First, I want to say, we're going to talk a little bit about why Fountain Valley is the #1 boarding school in Colorado. Those are some of our dorms there that you can see. Just some quick facts for those of you who don't know. We are co-ed, currently sitting at 216 students, usually somewhere between 200 and 250, depending on the year. 70% boarding students, which included 25% international, and 30% day students from the Colorado Springs area. We represent 23 countries and 21 states. Now, this is what we're going to talk about a little bit today, is some of our activities, some of our athletics, but also some of our academics. So we're very focused right now, year to year, have very specific ideas behind them on what we cover and really connect that to the Great American West. But I'll let the experts talk about that a little bit. And then take a look at this, steps to apply right now. But at the end, we'll come back to that too. If you haven't applied yet, I'll kind of walk you through the process right at the end. But for the time being, I'm going to stop my share here and let the panelists introduce themselves. So I'm going to do this in the order I can see people on my screen. So this is in no particular order at all, but I'm just going to go left, right, and around. So first, I have Mr. Stephen Jackson. Just want to go ahead and do a little intro yourself.
Hi, good evening. My name's Stephen Jackson. I am a dorm head here at Fountain Valley School. I run the Figge House dorm. It's a 9th grade dorm for boys. Also serve as the Associate Director of College Counseling. Also currently have an 11th grader. So looking at Fountain Valley through a lot of different lenses, this is my, I guess, upwards of 2 decades of working in independent schools as a teacher, coach, and college counselor.
Thank you. So next on my screen to my right, Ms. Jen Lebo.
Hi there. My name is Jen Lebo. I am the dorm head for Sage West dorm here. It is an upper class girls dorm. And I also serve as the Director of Community Life here. My husband is a math teacher and we've been here for maybe 16 years, been in independent schools for 25 years. And we have a proud alum. We're the parents of an alum, and our middle child is a senior and our youngest is a freshman. Welcome.
Great. Then I have Mr. Simon Walker.
Yeah, I always do that. My name's Simon Walker. I've been in this kind of education for over 30 years. I've been here for 12. A long-time former dorm head, just stepped down from that, and I do miss it. I am a history teacher, history and geography teacher. I teach the new 9th grade Western curriculum we'll talk about in a little while, as well as a 12th grade elective every year. I also run our Round Square program. I'm the director of that program. That primarily is a combination of global outreach and experiences for students. We have exchange students coming in the winter. We have teacher exchanges, and we also have major international conferences. I'm also the boys varsity soccer coach, our program head coach. Welcome. Nice to see everyone.
Thanks. And last but certainly not least, Mr. Stephen Shadle.
Hi, I'm Stephen Shadle. I'm new to Fountain Valley and new to boarding schools. I teach math, computer science, and astronomy, and I coach robotics and assistant coach boys swimming.
Great, thank you. So how this is going to work, this is going to be fairly casual. And again, if you have questions, put them in the Q&A, please. But I'm just going to act as moderator, and they're going to be panelists, and they're just going to talk about all different aspects of Fountain Valley life. So I'm going to start by asking Jen a question. So Jen, can you please describe just a typical day in the life of a Fountain Valley School student?
Sure. I've been thinking about this, right? I love this question. The typical day for a Fountain Valley student is not that different from the typical day of any of our teenagers in high school. Our students arrive to campus or leave their dorms in the morning. They spend the day going to their classes. There's usually some sort of all school or there's an assembly or some sort of meeting time. We have clubs during the day. They have lunch in the middle of the day. They finish out their academic day. They head off to sports or theater or some sort of afternoon activity. And then they enjoy dinner and head off to do their homework. It's a typical day for a typical teen. But what makes Fountain Valley special and unique is that, well, it's several things. The FVS way, I think a lot of us like to use that term. One of the things that I love is that our students are always outside. Our campus is my happy place. It's the most beautiful place I've ever spent time in. We have 1,100 acres of prairie, and our campus sits in the middle of that. And our students are literally always outside. They're outside to go from class to class. Often their classes are outside. We live in this beautiful place where it's November 15th and it was 70 degrees today. And the snow-capped mountains are right in view. So we have snow and warmth. Our students are outside for sports and for activities, for clubs, for socializing, for meals. And then the other things I love is that our day students are part of our boarding program. Oftentimes when the day buses arrive, the day students will join our boarding students for breakfast. They'll stay for dinner. Oftentimes they'll stay for study hall. And as our house is this week, we have a day student staying in our house all week. We welcome our day students to be part of our boarding program. And then I think the piece that I love is the boarding component, the Res Life component. Alex mentioned before, we're 70% boarding. And we're building a robust and strong residential life program that I've been putting together, that Steven Jackson's been an integral part of collaborating with that. And so our students' learning carries on from morning till night. They're learning all through the night. They're working with their teachers who are on duty in dorms. They're getting extra help all the time. And the learning is not just academic in the evenings. We're doing a lot of life skills and important concepts and that kind of learning in the dorms. So those are some of the things that make Fountain Valley special.
Great. And Simon, can you talk a little bit about like weekend activities that are available to the kids?
Yes, weekend activities. Yeah, thank you. So we most definitely want not only our boarders, but also our day kids when they can to be involved in the weekends. Weekends really start from the end of sports on Friday. And we are now having every Friday we're now hosting, and the students are largely, in fact, organizing and setting up our community events. That can be a group barbecue. It can be getting some inflatable castles and things on one of our lawns. It can be a game of humans versus zombies on a Friday night. And those are designed not only to bind our community, but also have our day students coming in and really playing a role. If they would like to stay on Friday night, they can also do that, our day students, and stay over and really enjoy our activities. And so on Saturday morning, kids will get up, have breakfast, etc. And there is a full slate of activities, mainly off campus. For instance, you can easily sign up online for one of the hikes that faculty will drive a bus to the trailhead, and they'll go off and enjoy the foothills of the Rocky Mountains. There's also many trips that you can do. You can do a service trip on a Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon. There's also, classic pieces like, if there's a sports game in town, kids can go to that. They can also go to the mall in Denver. trips to the Asian market, study trips to coffee shops downtown, etc. Saturday night, there's usually some kind of major activity. It could be one of our many dances. It could be our spring formal, our prom in April. It could be our winter formal in January, February. And just many, many more things like that on a Saturday night. And then Sunday tends to be a little bit of a slower pace where students get the chance to sleep in, have a fantastic brunch on Sunday morning, and then spend the afternoon relaxing, catching up with work, et cetera, et cetera. So our weekends are very intentional. Our faculty run those. We're all on a weekend team. And along with the kids, we design activities that really meet their needs. Also combining, again, those community elements on a Friday, heavy involvement on a Saturday, and then sort of scaling things back a little bit on a Sunday so that we can sort of reset for the week. So yeah, our weekends here are, again, very involved, very busy, and a lot of fun.
And Stephen Jackson, because I know you're a dorm parent, and I know two of you on here are on dorm duty tonight. Can you talk a little bit about the dorm experience and kind of how it's different than other places you've seen?
Sure. In about 15 minutes, my RAs will be checking students in, young adults, great leaders, good voice for the dorm there at Figge, where I am. They'll put together some dorm jobs, 7 to 7:30, and then we'll start study hall. Boarding schools are full of activity and full of life, but most importantly, boarding schools provide an option for students to live and learn alongside their peers and adults. And I think that the residential component, and I think all of us can speak to this, it's supportive and serious, and it never feels manufactured. I think that's one special aspect of Fountain Valley, is that everything feels genuine. I think it's the sense of place. Jen mentioned the prairie. We have an intentional curriculum. There's just a lot of social, intellectual, and sort of active energy going on every day here, and that's really special. But ninth grade students, they're tired. So by the time lights out at 10:30, they've put in a full, healthy day. There's just something about Fountain Valley it's just a breath of fresh air every day. And students work hard, and they are supported from the moment they wake up until the moment we ask them to turn their lights out.
And so going to the ninth grade, and now switching gears a little bit from the dorm life, residential life, and going to the academic side of things, which clearly is important. We're a school. Simon, will you talk a little bit about the new ninth grade curriculum?
Absolutely. I think that slide would really help as well. I know you got it to hand. So we decided this year that we were going to categorize and really focus on each one of our grade levels. And the ninth grade was Western history. It came to our attention, and it has been for a long time, that a lot of our students really do not have a true sense of place of where they are. And so being in the heart of the American Rocky Mountain West, we really decided to adopt a cross-curricular approach involving English, ecology/science, art, and history. So we are, in fact, I was mentioning before we came on, I just came back today from a ninth grade Western history field trip to the Denver Art Museum, led by the art faculty. We got to look at not only their I think pretty permanent freestanding art of the American West exhibit, but we also got to dive into a great number of Native American artists, which was really inspiring. And in fact, the kids got an enormous amount out of this today. And we'll be putting together some slideshows and really incorporating some of that art into class. But overall, we were looking to incorporate into this cross-curricular program, and especially the history side, which I can speak to the most, a real appreciation of the sense of place of the West, the history, the environment, obviously with the ecology piece, wrapping up behind with a lot of the literature. I know that the English folks are working a great deal on a book called The Women of the West, which is really highlighting the women's roles in developing this region. And then for us in history, we have really focused on an approach looking at the everlasting question of manifest destiny versus settler colonialism. We have looked at a great number and used a great number of Native American voices. We've taken the students, one of the big pieces this year is actually experiential education. So our great emphasis here is actually getting the students out, And so actually we're very proud of where we are so far. So the students actually went down to, with a real ecology leaning, in September, we went down to visit Chico Basin. Chico Basin is a working Western ranch, about 40 miles south of here. And they spent the day learning about not only the ecology of that setup, the environmental leaning of that setup, but really looking at how a traditional cattle and beef producing ranch works in the West. We also took them to Sand Creek, which is about 3 hours from here, due east, which is the site of one of the greatest Native American massacres. And we went to the national park there, had a very immersive day, did a lot of setup work beforehand. And then when the students came back, it really served as the center point to their first investigative, truly research paper, which we've just been grading, and we've had some fantastic results. And then today, as I just mentioned, we went to the Denver Art Museum. And another field trip planned probably for January from the ecology folks is to really focus on the wolf and the reintroduction of the wolf in the Rocky Mountain West. And so overall, this program is really designed to give students an introductory sense of place-based education on where they are. I mean, this is really one of the most interesting parts of the United States, and it really has a central place in the formation of this country. Everything from really about 1810, 1820 is when we focus our chronology, leading up to and probably ending up finishing right before the First World War. And so we're also, for our situation as well in history, we're also going to be working on and diving into a unit in January, looking at other issues such as the move west, the discovery of gold and the impacts on Colorado there, and also finishing on some fairly contemporary Native American issues as well. And our students are responding beautifully at this point. They really seem to be diving into the material, a lot of collaboration, a lot of debate in class, working on their research skills. So we feel very, very, very happy about where we are with our 9th grade right now. And again, just like everything that's new, I suppose it really isn't in the sort of pilot form. But again, we're going to review this at the end of the year, see what tweaks we have to make, and just make sure it's actually really serving our students and see where we can make some changes. But right now, we're extremely happy with it. And we think it's having a really profound impact on these young learners.
Well, it's definitely something different.
Alex, if I can just
Yeah, go for it.
hop onto that, because before we came on, I was teasing Simon. Our youngest is a 14-year-old 9th grade boy who likes to spend more time in Figgy dorm than he does in our own house, because our students feel so connected. That dorm is just amazing. But for all the teasing that I was giving Simon about having a 14-year-old son who just got back from the art museum and how did he like it, and I said, well, he's 14. But I will say, we are all the viewers on this panel or on this webinar right now are parents, right? We have our teenagers. So this might resonate. My 14-year-old son comes home regularly and sits at dinner with us and quizzes us. Last night he was asking us what percentage we could guess of the buffalo population that had decreased from this year to this year, because he learned that, I assume he learned that in history, not ecology. He was fascinated by it. Of course, his father was like, there were not that many people in Buffalo at that time. And we were like, anyway, wrong Buffalo. But a 14-year-old boy coming home and testing and quizzing his parents on historical information and scientific information, he would be mortified if I shared that. But this is what we're doing on this campus. Our kids are actually enjoying learning.
Yeah, I've actually heard that a number of times from different people, that they said their kids are actually going home and talking to them about the stuff, or calling them or emailing them or texting or whatever, depending on day or boarding student and such. So we're kind of getting part of it. So Stephen Shadle, you are the science person here. So I want to hear a little bit more from your side on how science is getting integrated, the STEM aspects of things, all the cool stuff you're doing.
Yeah, so like I said, I'm new to Fountain Valley. I hired on as a math teacher, took a job with the math department. And then as we were getting ready to start the school year, my department chairs came to me and said, could you also teach Python programming? And I said, yes, I would love to do that. And then a little bit later, she came and said, could you also teach astronomy? And I said, yes, that's amazing. So I'm a former NASA engineer and computer programmer, and I am fortunate and blessed, and so lucky to be teaching all the stuff that I love. So I have two math classes. I teach honors algebra 2. So that's mostly freshmen. And today, when they were at the art museum, it was emphasized to me what a high percentage of my class are freshmen, because I had 3 stragglers that didn't go on the freshman field trip. And then I also teach upper level math electives. So I'm looking forward to seeing my freshman algebra 2 students in a few years when they come back for this semester. I'm teaching differential equations. In the spring, I'm going to do multivariate calculus. And then that alternates every other year, with next year will be linear algebra and discrete math. And then I also teach in a section of astronomy, and I teach Python. So something that's fun that I get to do is blur the lines between the different topics. So in my Python class, I'll give an example from astronomy, and then in my differential equations class and my astronomy class, I've assigned programming in Python as an extension, optional if it's involved, or I'll sometimes give an example script in Python and ask the students to run the script, see that it runs, and then modify it. So it's pretty easy lifting. If they've never seen coding before, I have some students who insist that they can't program and they can't code. And then I just show them the work that they've done. And I say, I disagree with that because I've seen the evidence to the contrary. I also am coaching robotics. So I've taught robotics in person and online for the past about 4 years. And I'm really happy to be doing the afternoon activity during the sports and activities section after school. We meet every day, and we're building robots and learning to program. And each team has the option to either program in Scratch, which is block-based programming language, or they can program in Python, or they can program in C++. So that's a per team decision. And we're going to be going to competitions later on this year. 1 in December, and then 3 more in January, February, and then maybe more if we qualify for any like regionals or beyond.
And for those on who don't know, there are requirements at Fountain Valley that students have to take part in after-school activities, athletics, and that would include robotics, that would include any of our athletic endeavors, that also includes things like the musicals and dramas and such like that too. So there's a wide array of offerings. And Stephen, I want to stay here for a sec. So are you taking students to the mountain campus to astronomy, or did you already do that?
We've done that, and so I have my astronomy students were required to go on the field trip, and I also opened it up for volunteers, and I had an additional 19 students who are not my astronomy students sign up to go for a weekend, Friday through Sunday, and spend 2 nights looking through my telescope. Some of the students brought their own camera equipment, like they have a DSLR. One student has a film SLR, and they hooked it up to the telescope. They taught me how to take a long exposure photo with my iPhone. So I have one of those of the Milky Way, and our mountain campus is for any fans of astronomy, it's a Bortle 2 dark sky site. So we have incredible views of the Milky Way on a clear night. I've heard over and over again that former students, one of their favorite memories from Fountain Valley is getting a chance to sleep outside under the Milky Way while they're here at school.
Yeah, that's a really cool campus. And we went up about a month ago or something and stayed up there, but I wasn't brave enough to sleep outside. The whole like bears and animals and just scared me a little bit too much more than to
Well,
do that.
the mountain campus has a large deck outside, so you can also choose to sleep on the wraparound deck that surrounds the mountain campus and feel somewhat enclosed and somewhat safe. But you're still deciding if it's too cold or if you want to brave the elements to be able to sleep outside. But that's something that for sure upperclassmen have the option to sleep outside while they're at the mountain campus.
And does anybody else want to chime in about cool stuff that they've done at the mountain campus? I'm open to anybody.
Yeah, let me dive in here. So yes, the mountain campus is somewhere where we actually start out by taking our students up there when they first arrive on campus as the freshmen. And we really try to make the point that the mountain campus is really going to bookend their experience. So they go up in probably the first week in September, and they spend some time with the seniors. And once the seniors leave, there's that sort of exhale moment where I'm like, okay, now let's talk about the mountain campus. This is yours now for the next 2 days. And they get to learn how to cook using the kitchen there. They get to navigate themselves on where they are in terms of in Colorado. They get to walk out to the big meadow and spend 15 minutes sat alone, mindfully thinking about the wind and the insect that's between their feet and looking at all the 14,000-foot mountains. They do a bunch of games, but we really talk about the fact that, you know, they can go to the mountain campus as Stephen runs these weekends. We've had things like mountain bike weekends. There's obviously, we also have a ski weekend up there in late January, early February. But every class goes there each year on a retreat. If you are in the 10th grade, we run currently the Western Immersion program, which may change as we move forward. But the 10th graders have traditionally gone up there for a 3-night, 4-day experience, rather like our 9th grade curriculum, learning all about the West. And then when you on almost your last night before you graduate, the seniors go up actually for a week prior, but they're almost their last night spent there having their final class meeting where they really look to reflect upon their 4-year, hopefully, experience at Fountain Valley. Then they come back to campus, they spend one more night on campus, and then they graduate. And so it really does bookend the experience that we have. We also have some incredible links up there with the local communities. It sits between Buena Vista and Salida. And so we have really strong links with for community service up there. There's also a great hot springs just down the street, which we use a great deal. There's also open access to incredible whitewater rafting and just lots of other things we can do that really is a central part of our campus. And we've invested a lot of money into it. It's in fantastic shape. It really is a place that we're very proud of and we use as much as we can. It's somewhere we really encourage the students to go to get a really true sense of, you know, being deep in the Rocky Mountains. I believe from the deck, you can see 14,000-foot mountains as you look down the collegiate range. It's really, it's very awe-inspiring standing on that deck. And lots of kids really, especially when the alumni come back, it's one of the most sought after events is in the few days before alumni weekend. They get to go up there and relive their experience, sleep on the deck, etc., and just kind of, you know, think back and reflect all the fantastic times they had there. So really important part of our campus, the Mount Campus.
Yeah, it is very cool and very unique. I mean, I definitely never heard of another school that has that type of place and uses it like we do with, again, the place-based learning and use the environment and, you know, do the leadership and the team building and all the other things together too. And yeah, at the corner of the deck, there is that map that shows all the different 14ers that are right there. And it's incredible. It's very, very cool. So
yeah, and it also gets, it also every year, at least for one trip, gets used for interim. I know that this year when the freshmen go off and do their piece all around the state, they're going to come back for the last couple of nights and do a lot of reflective activities. And again, really learn more about the campus and learn more about what it means to be in the mountains in the West. So,
yeah. And you mentioned going seniors and people coming back. And so everybody knows going to high school, part of your whole goal is what college you're going to go to. So I'm going to go to Stephen Jackson on that so he can talk a little bit about our college counseling process and kind of what the arc looks like over the 4 years.
Yeah, thanks, Alex. So what I hope you've heard is this is a small school with really big opportunities, amazing experiences, both in the classroom and outside of campus, experiential, rigorous, but filled with a lot of shared experiences. College counseling here at Fountain Valley We're lucky to have an amazing director and an associate. I'll just throw myself in there, but Jeff Kurtzman and I have over 50 years of experience in independent school education. We've both served as directors of college counseling at other schools. So this is a profession that we love, and we enjoy helping students. We enjoy being intentional and measured. And most importantly, we enjoy removing the stress. Jeff is always quick to say, we all get along. And that is true. College counseling at Fountain Valley is it's individualized, it's intentional, it's holistic, and collaborative. Right now, our programming is built out for 11th and 12th graders. It's a traditional independent school model. The 9th and 10th grade, there are some touch points in which we introduce students to the college admissions process, just with some terminology and mostly, hey, you're here to learn, you're here to experience what Fountain Valley offers. And all of your pursuits, both in the classroom and beyond, will inform your college process. That's what makes a school like this so special, as well as having such a small student to counselor ratio. We as college counselors are not overloaded. We spend hours and hours with our students. And that makes a big difference, helping them shape their list, helping them articulate what they're looking for in a college. And it's that term, the best fit. Fit is elusive. But I think starting with our programming in 9th grade, our curriculum, which is intentional, it really improves the optics of students. It's relevant in terms of modern pedagogy. And then with the interim and experiential learning all the way through to the beginning of the senior year, our students are mature, they're independent, they have a sense of self. They've been given the freedom to feel comfortable in their own skin. And that, as a college counselor, what a privilege it is to work with students who have a strong sense of self and watch them take ownership of the process. And I think that's what makes our college counseling program special. We don't have any hidden agendas. The school embraces who you are. We meet you where you are. And our program provides, a lot of flexibility for students to decide what's best for them.
And some of the students, obviously, that come to us are looking for the highest level colleges possible. Some are looking for the right fit. Some are looking for certain careers and such. But then we also have a subsect of our population. As I mentioned at the beginning, 25% of our population is international students. So some of them obviously are looking to go to school in the US, but some of them are not necessarily. Some might be a 1 year, 2 year exchange, that kind of thing. So either Simon or Jen, you guys can bounce off each other however you want here.
Yeah, I might just chime in, Alex, just for some clarity. Fountain Valley students apply to and are admitted to hyper-selective schools throughout the country with a large international base. Jeff and I are very comfortable working with students who are looking at colleges and universities overseas. For a graduating class the last few years, what a broad selection of schools in terms regionally and types of schools. So that's what really makes what we do fun, but it should really share with those prospective students and families. Sky's the limit, really, if you're here and you're willing to get involved.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all what you make of it, right? That's exactly how that works. And then going into the global outreach and those kind of experiences and such. And I know, Simon, you have a little bit to share about Round Square, which you'll have to tell people what that is. But yeah, Jen or Simon, anybody wants to talk about the international population, the opportunities for global outreach for our domestic students, and the Round Square program?
Jen, you want to do student body first?
I'd be happy to. I think for the interest of time, I think it would be important to spend a little time in the Round Square piece, more time in the Round Square. I think I'm not really sure how to answer the question because it's such a broad issue or topic. I think my mind always goes back to our residential component and our new Res Life curriculum. One of the pieces that I think we are trying to intentionally incorporate as a school is creating a sense of belonging, but also celebrating each diverse, unique person. So we've got this wonderful student body that's global and also very local. I might speak a little to this later. There's a question I think coming that I want to touch on. But every student, our goal is to help that student be celebrated for their own uniqueness, but also feel like they belong and that they're one of us. And so I'm not sure if that answers the question of having this diverse student body, but I think it's important to spend time chatting about Round Square. So I'm going to pass that back over to you.
Yeah. Well, Round Square, strange name. Round Square is actually named after a quad at Gordonston School in Scotland. It was founded by the educational visionary Kurt Hahn. It really is a consortium of schools. About 250 schools globally, all with very similar ideals and outlooks on how to educate the student. And people often ask me, what is the value of Round Square? Well, the value really is the network. We currently work with 7 or 8 very trusted and fantastic partner schools around the world. With them, we are organizing exchanges. We run 5 reciprocal exchanges each year. I currently have 5 of our students who are now paired up with students from other schools in parts of the world who will arrive here in January. We have students coming from Lima, Peru, from Germany, and from Cape Town, South Africa, and then 2 from Australia. With those students, they will come here, they will live on our campus, play a full role in the life of the school, take classes, earn some grades, because it is primarily a cultural exchange, but they'll be in classes and they love our more interactive and engaging style of education here. They will join a sport. They will spend time with their partners probably on the weekends, especially if their partner is a day student who doesn't live on campus. They will partake of all of our weekend activities, such as ski weekend, winter formal, etc. Have a fantastic time over a long winter weekend, and then depart us sometime 3rd week in February. And then our students go down, again, usually Southern Hemisphere. We have Germany this year we're very excited about, but it's usually Southern, Northern Hemisphere. Our students will go down and enroll really in that school for 6 weeks over our summer, take classes, sports, etc., and have just a mind-blowing cultural experience. That's really the blue ribbon, kind of like the flagship program of Round Square. There are also conferences every year, international conferences, where the majority of those schools will meet, and there'll be literally an enormous international student symposium. The last one we had, was in London and Oxford University, and there were over 1,500 students and about 300 adults doing lots of service work, listening to some incredible keynote speakers. And then we also, in terms of those conferences, we've also been in the last few years to Cape Town, to Ottawa, to Lima, to Los Angeles. Incredible opportunities. Also, just a few other things. They also give us opportunities to have some of our graduate students get involved too. We currently have a student who is at St. Constantine's International School in Tanzania, and she is essentially employed as an intern teacher on a 6-month contract. I have another student who's probably going to be lined up to do that as well. We also have the opportunity for teachers to come and go and have 2-week immersive visits. I myself went to Scotch College in Perth, Australia a few years ago. We had an art teacher come here right before the pandemic in 2020 from Australia, and we have a language teacher from Markham College in Lima, Peru, who'll be with us in February for 2 weeks and really immersing herself in everything that we do. Just as, really in terms of, just a quick summary of this, Round Square presents fantastic global opportunities for our students to interact off campus, on campus. And we're really one thing we have in the works now is we are currently working with one of our schools on developing an even closer partnership where we can involve some of our 10th grade kids to really go en masse, maybe one of our interims, and obviously reciprocate our way as well. And we're trying to really increase the involvement in that. In fact, as I was saying before I came on, there's another program Round Square does called the Postcard, where schools are invited to design a 90-minute Zoom conference. And the one this morning was from Craig House School in Santiago, Chile, on climate change, and it started at 5:30 this morning. So it's been quite a day. But we in fact hosted one on climate change a few years ago, and then last March we hosted another one based on physical counseling space. Oh, sorry, physical safe spaces on campus, which was done in conjunction with our counseling department. So just lots of real global outreach and global connection for our kids, some through a computer and some physically. And you can really get involved at any level that you feel comfortable with.
And it sounds like too, that would be interdisciplinary. It could be on any different subject if they wanted to do the conference or when they go to places and things like that.
Yes, and there's one thing we really haven't dived into yet, but there are opportunities for departments to collaborate on curriculum too. There are plenty of French-speaking schools in Quebec that would like to do that. There's plenty of history classes in different parts of the world where we could really join up. That's something we're really looking forward to diving into in the next year or so.
Yeah, that sounds great. I mean, I always want to learn from different cultures, and especially when it's around,
Absolutely.
similar subjects and things like that.
Yeah.
So I know what Jen wanted to talk about before, and I will open this up to anyone, but I know she wants to talk about it, is students finding their place at Fountain Valley. I think that's what you were referring to before. Okay.
Yeah, so I think the question that I've been mulling about is finding our place and the uniqueness. I think you had asked us to think about what makes our school unique. And I'm sitting here, I'm always in awe for all the years that I've spent here. I still find it fascinating to listen to all of the things that our campus brings. Round Square, like I could listen to Simon talk about Round Square all day, and I'm already planning that for my children, right? Or my son. I love the college process and hearing about it because we're going through it right now. But there's, for all of the amazing things that we do on our mountain campus, sending our kids out into the world, what always, what sits at my core is the sense of belonging here. I love that we create so much opportunity for our students to go and do, but I also think that one of the most amazing things that we do on this campus, and I say this speaking as an educator and also as a mother, is that we create safety, we create belonging, and we create a sense of connection for our students. There's a mural on our campus that sits over on the athletic fields, and it says, what does it say? Everyone belongs here, right? And I think that speaks to what our school is. I know we're working really hard to do that on campus. We are working really hard to do that in our dorms. I just spent an hour or so last night with a table of parents, asking a lot of questions of our parents, getting feedback, hearing about all the things that our parents are loving about what we're doing now, that they're hearing their kids come home and tell them, and then getting ideas from them on how to make it even better. And I think that's one of the things I love about my job is that it's, for me, it's listening, right? Like we live in a world of teachers where our students go in and they listen, but my job, a lot of my job is listening. I listen to our students. We've created a student activities committee that works on a lot of those Friday night activities. They're all student led. Those are all student ideas. So when parents come and sit with me and say, my child is having so much fun, I can't get my child to come home. These are day students. This is a really good thing. This was the goal. But I personally, the answer to this question is, sits for me in my own children. We have 3 children who have grown up on this campus, but as they became students, each one of them, we have if you have multiple children, you look at your kids and you go, how did we make all 3 of these kids? They're so different. And each one of our 3 kids has felt such a sense of belonging and love for this school, whether it's the traditional athlete who played soccer for Simon and went on to go to the traditional college and do all the traditional things, to our middle child who's now a senior and struggles with ADHD and dyslexia and is on the spectrum and has found an amazing sense of belonging and acceptance here, to our youngest child who, like I said, I can't get out of Figgy Dorm because he just loves being a student here. Very different children, and they all belong here. And so being on this panel, to me, it feels really important to speak as a parent of 3 children who have gone through this wonderful place. As a parent, I could not be happier having my children here.
And before I wrap up, if anybody on the panel wants to add to that, speak to that, or speak of something else that you think is kind of the best, most unique aspect of Fountain Valley School, please feel free to pop on and do that before I wrap up things.
Yeah, we would be remiss if we didn't mention the writing program here at FVS. Both the equestrian program, the IEA English, as well as the Western riding. I'll put in a little plug for the Western riding because my son was terrified of horses. He's on the team currently and has had an amazing experience. I don't think there hasn't been a school where I've worked where you can look at a multi-million-dollar gymnasium right next to a world-class barn. In the mornings you can watch the horses coming in from pasture, and you can still see kids swimming, working out in the gym early in the morning. So I think that this sort of disparate image, that juxtaposition, captures a little bit about what Jen is talking about. Everyone belongs here. You can find a place. You can feel tethered to your academics as well as your after school life, and just a dynamic place. And I couldn't be happier working here as well. So
I wanted to say something. So we talked a little bit about getting to go to the mountain campus and getting that experiential learning, but something that I think we barely touched on is one of the amazing things about coming to Fountain Valley as a teacher is the interim experiences. So at the midway through spring semester, just before spring break, the week before spring break, we take students to different experiential destinations. Freshmen stay on campus and do a wide range of things around Colorado Springs. And I, as a new teacher, I am so looking forward to taking a group of 12 students who want to get certified in scuba. We're going to Cozumel, and they're going to take classes, and we're going to get a chance to dive and see the amazing biodiversity and just incredible clear waters of Cozumel. We have language immersion trips that for Spanish students, Spanish language students. There are trips going to Puerto Rico. There's one going to Spain. There have been trips to France in the past for French language students. There's an interim trip going this year to Singapore and Malaysia, and one to Tanzania. And I couldn't be more thrilled and excited to take part of that. So I'm really looking forward to that. And it's just one of the incredible opportunities that students have to look forward to at Fountain Valley.
Yeah, thanks for mentioning that. That's kind of one of the big key things that we do around. And yeah, we kind of like sort of mentioned a little bit here and there, but didn't really go into it too much. Anything else before I wrap up here? Okay, just making sure.
Just thank you for joining us this evening. I appreciate it, and hope you continue to stay in touch with us for sure.
So we did just have a question pop up, and I don't know who this would be to. but it's a student who's looking at us from Shanghai and says they're curious about musical practice room for students. And do students get a chance to attend different kinds of either musical competitions or performances inside of school, outside of school, things like that?
I might take a stab at this one because one of my children is in the music program. And I would say, yeah, well, yes, we have a growing and wonderful music program. Matthew Langford runs our instrumental and jazz rock ensembles. We have a vocal choir. We actually have a performance tomorrow night, which I'm encouraging my son to go practice for. And I would say that, yes, I think Matthew and I have had these conversations about him. He has so many wonderful ideas about the things he wants to start doing and getting our students not only doing more here and the competitions that I believe our students have throughout the year here on campus, but also getting them off campus, doing some fun things in the communities. Colorado Springs is a great, funky little city. And I know my son in particular plays, he's in the instrumental ensemble here on campus, but he's also in the Colorado Springs Youth Symphony in the jazz band there. And we have had multiple students over the years who do both of those things. They perform on campus and they perform in lots of ways out in the community. And actually one of my advisees is also a freshman and doing those same similar things. And he has been, he's in the Colorado Springs Youth Symphony, a different part of that organization. And I believe that he's been talking about, I want to say Sydney, Australia this summer, playing at the Sydney Opera House, and Matthew is working with him to get that happening. So there are things happening in our music program. It's growing, and I'm very excited.
I will gladly chaperone that trip to Sydney, Australia. I can make that happen. Well, thanks for the question, and thanks, Jen, for answering that. So before we wrap up here, I just want to go over quickly, if you have not yet applied and you're on this here, don't forget the steps to application. Our early action applications are due by December 15th. If you are applying for financial aid, that is due for our early action by December 30th. And then you would get notified of all the above by January 10th. And then it goes regular applications and then rolling, and that all is then dependent on space. Here's just kind of the steps to application, and we are recording this, so we will post this and send it out and such. But here's kind of what you need to do. I would highly encourage, if possible, I don't know about the person from Shanghai, but being able to do a tour of campus. The Shanghai person can definitely do a virtual tour. We'll put you on the phone and we will walk you around campus. We are happy to do that. There's also an interview, essays, and make sure you get your transcripts and such in. Testing is optional unless you are applying for a scholarship. And so there's a couple of different kinds of scholarships that are, for both domestic, international, boarding, and day students. One is the Summit Scholarship, which can be anywhere from $5,000 to $30,000 award, which would be over your 4 years. So every year over 4 years at Fountain Valley School. To do that, in order to be eligible, you need to obviously put in your application and everything, ideally by early action, because that's kind of first come, first serve on that sort of thing. You need to submit your scores for one of the tests, and then we will send you a prompt for an essay or a video, and then you have to turn that around and send that to us within 2 weeks. There's also a special scholarship. There's a head scholarship. This is available to those in Colorado who are with over an hour outside of Colorado Springs that are going to be 9th grade domestic boarding students. Is also available to those in Texas and Montana. We're hoping eventually that'll expand to more states, but right now that is where it is. That can be an up to $50,000 award. You have to apply by the early action deadline of December 15th, and then there's an interview process in January. So that's all of that. Here again is my information if you want to take a little screenshot to make sure that you have that. And one last question here, SAO states graded essay is optional for the application. Yes, the SAO is one of our application process we come in. So there's a single application online, and there is the gateway to prep. So you can apply through either portal, but that is an optional step. So I just want to make sure you know that as well. Feel free, reach out to us at any time. Thank you for everybody's time. Thank you to the panelists. We really appreciate you. I'll see the panelists tomorrow at work. But for the rest of you, I hope I see you on campus sometime soon. Have a great night, morning, depending on where you are, whatever it is. Have a good one.
Good night.